Hello and welcome again to the Skillwork Forum. I'm Tim, I'm your host, and today we're going to be diving into a topic probably familiar to a lot of you out there, but certainly our HR leaders and plant managers everywhere, especially those folks that are looking to bring on talent. And here's the problem: you put out a job post out there through traditional or non-traditional means, you expect to get good response, and they just don't deliver one reason or other. It could be you just get unqualified people, or maybe even worse, you get a ton of folks that are just nowhere close to what you need, or you get nobody at all. So, whatever the case is, why is it that you post out there, you throw a line in the water, you get no response? So, to unpack this topic, which I think will be helpful to all of you, I'm joined by Miss Lindsay Jacka, who is our HR manager at Skillwork. Had the privilege of working with Lindsay for several years now. She works in this world every day in and day out with both candidates and clients. So she gets a front row seat to understand what works and what doesn't work. So she's the expert. And Lindsay, thanks for joining us today. Appreciate it very much.
Yeah, thanks, Tim, for having me here, and I'm excited to talk about this topic. Like you said, it's something we hear about often, so glad to tackle it.
Yeah, you'll be great, and it's something I think is beneficial to a lot of people. And we spend a lot of time trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work. Every day we live in the world, we see um, hundreds and hundreds of candidates every week. So we've got this kind of wired, and Lindsay's going to be able to give you a lot of insight. So let's kind of start at a high level, 30,000 foot view. So when manufacturers, our main client base out there, or HR departments, and they're frustrated that the job postings are producing, they're under a lot of heat, under a lot of pressure, what's usually the main symptom? What's going on?
Yeah, I would say probably the root of it is kind of that post and pray approach. So
What's it
they're
called? Pray and
post
pray?
and pray.
Post
So
and
they
pray.
post it
Okay.
and then they pray. So
All right.
they're putting that job description, that job posting out, and then they're kind of crossing their fingers and hoping that the right person comes along and applies for that job, and that approach really just doesn't work anymore. I think especially in the trades, I think the challenge is most folks, especially the folks that they're looking for, are already employed or that top talent isn't local.
Yeah. So the idea that you just go to, I'm not going to call out a specific job board unless they want to be a sponsor, Skillwork Forum. You can reach out to our marketing manager. I'm sure he'd love to hear from you. But you guys know the main job board. So you put some job out there. Usually the job descriptions are kind of lame. You throw it out there and you do the post and pray. I like that. I'm not sure I've heard that before. And the audience that they're trying to reach, they're trying to market to a specific, targeted audience.
hmm
And they're just not reaching them because these guys aren't spending all their time out there. The real candidates you look for aren't spending their time all day scrolling, right?
Yeah, that's right, Tim. I would say they're not the real talent that they're looking for, the best talent. They're not actively every day getting on your job boards and scrolling. And if they happen to, if they come across your post and it's too generic or too long, they're going to keep scrolling. They're not going to click on it. And that's a real challenge.
Yeah, and I think specifically for us in the world we live in with skilled workers, we call them skilled workers, or traditionally blue collar skilled tradesmen. I still think there's this idea out there, and a lot of hiring managers have been doing this in that space. I think they have this idea that these guys are sitting around, they're just desperate for a job, and they're looking for the first opening, and they're gonna have this flood of qualified candidates. Not how it works. So let's get into some specifics about this. Mistakes. So we know generally what they do wrong, but what are some of the biggest mistakes that companies that you see make out there?
Yeah, sure. There are a few big ones. I would say kind of first that comes to mind is using a lot of internal jargon, right? Things that make sense to you and your company on a day-to-day basis, but someone that's not familiar with that, it's not going to click for them. And so I think to give a real example, I think in the trade space, what a manufacturer or a company in this industry might call it a ops governance level 3 probably isn't gonna click or resonate with them. They're really looking for that direct plain language. I would think, or I would say, kind of following off of that, posting vague job titles. If you're looking for a PLC tech, put a PLC tech. Call it a PLC tech. That's going to resonate with them as compared to a maintenance associate, which may be too vague, may be too ambiguous for them, and could have the opposite effect of what you're looking for. I would say another real challenge, kind of speaking to a really long job posting, right, is having too many bullet points in that job description. If you're listing 25 tasks, that's gonna probably overwhelm and turn off your candidate. And I would say, kind of on that point, really you want to narrow down your must-haves to about 5 to 7. Anything more than that, and your candidate's probably going to think you're looking for a unicorn, and that'll be a challenge too. I would say two others that really come to mind are really not including in your job description what's most important to the candidate. So in this industry, I think the things that come to mind are pay. Pay is super important, the schedule, stability, things like that. And kind of on the topic of pay, the other thing that really hits home that we hear about a lot is if your pay does not align with the industry. These candidates know their worth, they're looking for that. So that's really going to deter your candidates too.
Yeah, those all resonate with my experience, since we've been doing this. And I think that the one you hit on earlier, but kind of the overly vague, and just kind of generic. I see this often when you're hiring folks, your talent acquisition aren't really connected to the end user, so they just kind of take a basic, resume, job description, change a few words, and put it out there. And that's when you end up getting a flood of non-qualified candidates, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And on the other hand, when you're talking about, man, when you put 1,000 different details on there and then wonder why you're not getting any candidates. So, you need to hit that sweet spot. You did a great job of explaining
Definitely.
that. So, so it sounds like, there's this growing trend that people are getting smarter and they're figuring it out. This is not just a post and pray. It is really a marketing opportunity. It's really a marketing strategy or campaign that they have to go on, not just HR. So what does it look like when companies really get that figured out? And it's like, hey, this is a marketing approach, not just a job posting.
Yeah, absolutely. I really think it's your job posting. That job rec is your sales pitch for your company or your organization. It's your best opportunity right out the gate to really take those few quick seconds that a candidate is scrolling through and looking for a new opportunity for you to sell what that opportunity is all about. Really pull them in. And I think for the tradesmen, you want to lead with what's most important to them. That's what's going to pull them in. That's what you want to sell them on. So things that I've touched on, like pay, like schedule, but I think even more so, include a little bit about your culture, about your environment and your facility, what they can expect from that perspective, and especially skills. These guys are highly skilled. They know this industry better than anyone, and so they want to know what that looks like for you and what that means to you. And if you bury it halfway down that posting, you're
Yeah,
gonna
it's interesting. We've done a few topics on this podcast where we talk about you got to get a little bit more creative and talk about non-traditional benefits that you have, like upskilling, opportunity to advance, and flexible work schedules, and things that manufacturing traditionally don't think about. Super critical these days. So instead of, for example, just what we see all the time, competitive pay and benefits, right?
right.
What does that mean? You know,
Exactly.
what could be what do you suggest when somebody's just throwing out those generic?
Yeah, I would say your best approach is get specific and be honest. So if your position is $32 an hour and it's a 4-day work week and it's a 12-hour shift on third shift, write exactly that. Put that front and center at the start, because those are the things that matter to them. That's the job and that's what they're looking for. And I would even go so far as to say, we've seen this in our industry and the folks that we work with. Sometimes, first 2 weeks, first 4 weeks is a first shift. That's what works best for companies for their training, but then they move on to a third shift. And I think it's important to really set from the start what day one and from there is going to look like for them. They want to see information that's clear, that they can wrap their head around, and they don't want to be surprised by that information kind of halfway through the interview process. They want to see it up front.
This kind of gets me to thinking about with the AI and technology, that a lot of the search engines out there, these guys kind of set their, hey, I'm looking for this, that, and then it goes out. Intelligent agent bot goes out, scrubs all the job openings. So important to your point. You better be specific because they're searching for key things, and if you just throw a generic statement out there, your job.
Yeah.
You want to get them at least to be interested in pursuing them. So those are great ideas.
Is the skilled labor shortage hurting your company's bottom line? Skillwork is the premier staffing agency focusing exclusively on skilled labor. Our team of highly skilled workers augments your existing teams for elevated impact and decreased downtime. Partnering with hundreds of facilities in more than 30 states, we deploy our traveling industrial technicians to work for you on a contract basis. Our philosophy is simple: to honor God in all we do, bring respect back to the skilled trades, and positively impact those around us. For more information on how Skillwork can deliver the top labor talent you need, visit skillwork.com or call us at 402-447-7058. Call us today to see how Skillwork can work for you.
Let's talk about some solutions that we could throw out there. We've talked about mistakes, so forth, and how to do things. What are the common things we see that aren't done right? So if job boards, alone aren't enough, what other things should companies maybe be thinking about doing?
Yeah, I think there's a few creative solutions that can really set you apart. I would say first, when you're writing your job description, your job requisition, really write to the candidate. Don't write to your company. Write to the person, to the talent that you want to attract. So be clear, concise, direct. I would also say write about what they care about. Things that I've already mentioned, the pay, the schedule, the benefits, the environment, the culture. From there, I would encourage transparency. Be transparent about the pay. Be transparent about the schedule. Like I talked about, if it's first 4 weeks at first shift and then third shift, include that. It's important and it matters to them. You kind of mentioned this, but I would also really say it's super important to use multiple resources, take multiple avenues. Your job boards alone aren't going to cut it anymore. So take that creative approach to really leverage the resources around you. So things like social media, work with your marketing team, get creative with your hiring team to build campaigns that can feature what you're looking for, feature those job posts, and include a link to that. Referrals are super important. We leverage those a lot ourselves. So leverage your network, talk with people. You'd be amazed what just a good network can do. Yeah. And staffing partners. You really need that well-rounded approach. Just a couple others that come to mind: move fast. We hear that so often. If your application takes 45 minutes, you're going to lose that candidate. And then lastly, you really want to keep it fresh. You want to continually look at those job postings, refresh them, boost them so that they don't get lost in the shuffle.
Super important. Yeah. And we think too, and we've learned that you get a good qualified candidate out there in the market that we deal in with skilled tradesmen, highly competitive. So if you dilly-dally or set on something, or you wait, or the candidate doesn't hear back from you, you have to pursue them, and make sure in a rapid way, get back to them quickly, get them engaged, and because you'll lose it, because it is a competitive market out there. You have a lot of people competing for your talent. So super important. So as Lindsay mentioned, we're a staffing company that specializes in skilled trade. We don't emphasize that a lot here, but in this context, it's important for us to say, because we do this all day, every day. Everyone in our, Lindsay always say, everybody in our company is in HR, because we're talking about human
Absolutely.
resources. So all day, every day we do this. So at Skillwork, what have we learned? Your perspective, what makes our methodology? I mean, do we practice what we preach?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's really about taking what I've kind of spoken on here and applying it. And at Skillwork, we do that. I'm really thankful that we take a creative and strategic approach where we market what we're looking for. We partner with our marketing team to really try and reach the best talent out there, as well as combining that with a direct outreach. And so I think it's using those multiple resources. I think, if you really want to stay competitive in the industry, then you have to get smart about using your network, both not just with your employees, but with partners in the industry, and utilizing your recruiting team to really get out there and have the right conversations, even if candidates haven't actively applied. At Skillwork, our recruiters are so intentional about, even if they don't get a direct applicant, they are reaching out to folks that have showed an interest and engaging in that conversation to say, hey, look at what we've got and what can we do for you?
Yeah. And, it's some of the things you talk about, and I was thinking about in context of Skillwork and what we do. And I just had the opportunity. We talk to all of our guys we put in the field every week. We start a crop of new guys every week. This next week, I think we have 16 new folks going out or transitioning from one job to another, and we talk to them. And it's incredible to me how important it is that we tell our culture and talk about valuing them,
Mhm.
and that they're out there. They're saying, "Hey, we're looking at 2 or 3 different opportunities, and we're going with you guys because of the way we've been treated, the way we've been respected. You guys were kindly getting back to us." I mean, how important is that? Treat them like you want to.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the most important value nowadays. It's you hear so often it's the changing language and culture around it's not just a job, and providing for your family is really important, and that matters to us too. But you're not just someone that's going to come in and do a job, but you're a person that we want to care for, we care about, and we want to see you succeed. So including them in our culture and living out our culture speaks volumes to them, and it's who we are and why we do what we do.
Yes, it matters so much. It's amazing that the folks that we talk to, that we recruit, we vet, and we just let them know that you're valued, and hey, that makes such a difference. So I kind of like the concept that you've mentioned before about it's not a wide net, it's
Absolutely.
a catchphrase. But what do you really mean?
Yeah, I think it's really about that targeted approach, being intentional about um, creating your postings from the start, and then really getting narrow and specific with what you're looking for. I think we we position our job postings, our conversations around that, and because we know how to position them, because we know how to be clear and concise and direct with what we're looking for, it resonates with these candidates, and it's why we're able to bring a candidate in and get them hired onto a position within weeks as compared to months.
Yeah, I think it's shocks a lot of our clients. Tell them numbers of candidates we vet and on board, and so we not because we're more brilliant than anybody, but we figured this out and we apply some of these practices. So if I'm an HR leader out there listening today, talent acquisition, or somebody that's in charge of hiring, I think you may have hit on it, but there's one thing you want me to walk. You had a chance to speak to. What would you say?
Yeah, I would say that your job posting is your first impression. It is vital. It is so important. And so treat it like your marketing piece, your sales pitch, your way to from the start show who your company is, what you value, what you're looking for. So make it short. Be clear and concise like
Yeah,
I've talked about. That's
right.
that's a buzzword, but also make it compelling, make it interesting for the candidate.
Yeah, and I heard this was actually somebody from a state level chamber of commerce in charge with job manufacturing, and this was at a forum, and he said it in this way that got everybody's attention. He just said, make sure your job posting doesn't suck. And I mean, that's pretty direct.
That's a pretty direct way to
Yeah,
put
I
it.
mean, this is an audience of professionals and business owners, and I was like, got everybody's attention. But he said, you got to make it compelling. We're trying to compete for talent that has the opportunity to go into computing and technology and robotics. So if your approach isn't working, don't assume the talent isn't out there. We can tell you that it is out there. Might just be that your strategy needs.
Absolutely. The shortage is real, but like you said, that talent's out there, and it just takes knowing how to reach them.
Yep, 100%. And it doesn't hurt to have an expert like Lindsay. So you can't have her. We've tied her down to a long-term contract. So no, she's awesome. And we have a great, awesome team at Skillwork. And hopefully some of her insights were valuable to you today in this episode of the Skillwork Forum. Thank you, Lindsay, for sharing your insights. So if your company is tired of the post and pray approach, maybe rethink about how you're doing. Take some of this away. And as always, you can reach out to us at Skillwork, skillwork.com. That's our website. Reach out to talk to us. And we're happy to share what we do and talk about what we do. Maybe even engage with you to see if we might be able to help you with your talent or staffing gap. We're happy to do that. We're happy to share any of our expertise with you. We think that's part of our mission to honor and value our skilled tradesmen. So appreciate you joining us today. Until next time, thanks very much and God bless.
This is Brett Elliott, CEO and co-founder at Skillwork. Prior to starting Skillwork, I spent over 30 years in the food manufacturing space. From literally starting out cleaning the restrooms to becoming the maintenance manager, then the plant manager, to eventually becoming the president and owner, I've seen the manufacturing world from many perspectives. And like many of you, I've seen firsthand the growing need for higher skilled workers, while at the same time experiencing the shortage of this skilled talent. I started Skillwork to address that need. I knew the headhunter and the local temp agency models were not the solution. If you're experiencing the same shortage of talent at your facility, we would love to connect you with our team. Give us a call at 402-447-7058 or visit us online at skillwork.com.